So to get this series started right, up in the top left side, it is indeed going to be Major. And down in the bottom right side, it is going to be recently acquired by Dignitas, d.JonnyREcco. And Paul, I'm kind of curious. You're mentioning Mech is very, Major really likes to do that versus Zerg. If he decides to do it, how exactly is it going to play out on a map like Ohana?
Very slowly, taking a third base, because obviously the natural is going to be very easily taken just by Barracks Command Center, but then the third base is going to be very important. It should be taken very slowly by tanks crawling down, but on a map like Ohana, it's actually, there's only a couple of key points you need to defend on. In your main base, of course, where drops can come from, and on your third base. You're never going to really have attacks up the natural, so it's actually only like two positions you need to focus on, which makes playing mech very easy. And then it's a hop, skip, and jump towards the fourth base, so it's actually not too bad to play mech on here. And also then, if you think about it, the distance between bases is small as well. The big thing, I question the experience of d.JonnyREcco playing against mech, because not that many people do play mech on the European server, and unless he's had specific practice for this matchup for Major, then I think he could be caught by surprise.
And right now we do see, the complete standard opener that we would expect to see. Going to be throwing down that barracks at the entrance here. I mean, this is basically what Terran players have always done versus Zerg these days, and then could easily expand on the back of that if he decides to. Now, if Major decides to go for mech, when is it that we're going to kind of see that, oh, he's going for mech?
So he'll go one Barracks Command Center, probably, unless he goes early third Command Center, he'll take double gas, Reactor Hellion, Cloak Banshee, and then he'll add on the third and fourth gas on the natural, and that will be the sign that he should be playing mech.
Alright, so the drone scout here for d.JonnyREcco. No, this is not Vortex, as is going to scout out with that drone there, see exactly what's going on. He wants to know, okay, was there gas? No, there's not, so I'm assuming it's going to be a command center. The only other option is going to be that proxy barracks, which is not really going to be happening in this game, and plus on this map it would take, there's a high chance that it would be scouted here, so it does look like d.JonnyREcco's just going to go ahead and head back on home, but right now it does look like the spawning pool finishing up here as he did go for that hatchery first. So completely standard stuff here for both players. Down goes the command center at the natural. And I mean, this is super safe for Major to do here because there's not going to be lings in time. I mean, he's going to know that. The SCV's scouting the main base and seeing just that. So the game is going to slowly kind of move. I wouldn't call it the mid-game just yet. That's a little bit premature. But, you know, both players are gearing up for what looks like some mid-game builds.
Yeah, we'll have to see. You know, is he going to dedicate to Cloak Banshee? I think he will. Right now, though, is moving around with the Marine a very smart thing to do on the left-hand side. Just looking for that Overlord, because that Overlord should be making its way towards the main base where you can scout. And now the Marine's time's passed, of course, Ling's on the way out. And small things like this just show the experience of such a player like Major.
And we have seen some builds actually revolve around just killing off those first two Overlords potentially, but nice scouting there by him, as well as scouting around his third base, trying to spot those Overlords. He knows that if d.JonnyREcco misses an Overlord beat, that he can easily snipe those, and it's one of those things where the really only way that you know where those Overlords are going to be is lots and lots and lots of practice, which of course is exactly what Major does. Now we do see the command center, or excuse me, not the command center, but the factory going to be going down right now. We also see the reactor on the way, as would be expected here. Just kind of playing it very similar to the series that we saw in the last games, where they are basically just going for the exact same openers here. Now is d.JonnyREcco going to be doing something different than Vortex? Well, we're just going to have to wait and find out.
Three Marines going to touch creep, do the touchdown, then return usually. Just want to, put pressure on, force units out. d.JonnyREcco doesn't really bite though. Only has 3 Lings, doesn't build more. And the Marines even going to check down for that third base, make sure it's not there nice and early on. And we'll just retreat back because they know that the Queens are going to push this back anyway. d.JonnyREcco does have a single gas and will be looking like he's going for speed straight away. Does not have a second, so it looks pretty normal for him to take a third base from this most likely.
And we do see the starport going to be going down for the Cloak Banshees as well, or potential for Cloak Banshee here, as he does have that double gas right now, but he only has 2 SCVs in both of these geysers. What does this tell us about what Major's doing?
Major with only 2, he was actually saving up to go for the third command center early on here, and now that he's got the third command center, he actually should be in Gasable 3, because without that, he can't actually afford to go a Banshee and Cloak at the same time here. So that may be a little bit of a mishap from him, unless he doesn't want to get Cloak and wants to continue the Hellion production more so, and that would make a lot more sense.
Yeah, definitely slight variations here. To this build, we indeed do not see Cloak on the way, as he does have that additional income to create that command center right there. And I would be kind of surprised to see him actually throw down Cloak at this point, as I feel like the time has passed. But the Hellion count is only at 4, so he's not going too crazy with it. Has mixed in 2 more Hellions right now, though. We'll have to see if he continues adding those on. Once again, having a few extra resources. But the Overlord does manage to scout a surprising amount of this base. He sees all the engineering bays, the Banshee's on the way with no Cloak. He knows that. He also knows the command center is almost done. So this Overlord doing a great job of scouting right there. And looks like JonnyREcco's got to be feeling okay. Does throw down 2 spores and a Roach Warren. Do you think this is an overreaction here?
Yeah, I mean, and it's not really an overreaction, but because if you compare his play to Vortex, who JonnyREcco went double upgrades early on, so he's thinking more long term and delayed the layer, so he actually doesn't have any anti-air, and you kind of have to play safe. You can't be like, well, you know, I didn't see him researching Cloak, you know, maybe he's not going to get it. You kind of have to anyway if you don't have a layer down. So it seems like a normal response here, but without Cloak, these Banshees won't really get up to too much here. Maybe a couple of drone kills, then back out. And I love the way that Mage is playing this. Very greedy. Going for the Rectihalion Banshees, a nice little harassment tool, but then double engineering bay, 3rd command center, is going to have such a powerful mid game because it's gone untouched, unharassed, all-in per se by JonnyREcco.
And you also got to remember that that command center is pretty far away from that 3rd base, so he's going to just use it for SCV and mule production for now, because once he decides to take that 3rd base, it's going to be a minute or 2 before he can fly over there. But does look like JonnyREcco going to be moving out with just a couple of roaches here, going to be able to grab this Watchtower. The Banshee's going to have fun blasting away at those. But again, I mean, that Banshee's not really doing a whole lot, so JonnyREcco is going to be relatively safe here. I think he even transfused a Roach if I heard that correctly, but either way, not going to be losing too much from that. Continuing to be active here with these Hellions right here. And we do see a lot of Marines and now transitioning more into Siege Tank and Medevac here, but only making 1 Medevac at a time, adding on 3 more barracks. Is Major gearing up for a timing here, or is this just to be able to power off this 3rd base?
He'll power off this 3rd base. His natural timing is going to be, well, if he wants to stick to the basic rules, is going to be when 2-2 finishes. Anything before that is a little bit weak unless he knows that his opponent's playing greedy himself and that he can go kill his opponent, then he'll just wait for 2-2. With the armory coming down, that's exactly what he's aiming for. JonnyREcco, though, just playing it so cautiously this game. I mean, he's really focusing heavily on his upgrades with 2-2, but how late is that 3rd base? It is so late here.
Yeah, ridiculously late, actually. It's not even going to be done by the 11-minute mark here, but it does look like the Banshee got pushed on out of there. Only 1 kill on that Banshee and very low on HP. She'll most likely get taken out by one of those queens in the upcoming battles here. But is JonnyREcco going to have the amount of units he needs to defend against these drops that are headed his way right now? Take a look at the units tab. 35 Lings and 7 Roaches, which is definitely an interesting unit composition. Should give him enough to deny this from doing too much damage, but the scan in the main base shows that, hey, there's not a whole lot of defense here, and JonnyREcco needs to make sure not to take too much damage from this.
Oh, it looks like Mage is heading straight for the evolution chambers. Is he going to get one? No, he gets denied from it. Unfortunately, his plan did not work, and he will have to evacuate, but that would have been massive if he slowed down one of those upgrades. Right now, though, that was a nice little timing window for Major to do some damage before the Infestors come out, but if he attempts it again, then the timing's passed, the Infestors are out, and they will immediately get shut down.
The Medevac's heading on back home. Those units inside taking a lot of damage. That 3rd base is down right now, and he should be able to defend this relatively easily at this point. But still, we don't see JonnyREcco making a ridiculous amount of workers. I mean, he is at 78 here and did make a big wave right there to finish it off, but is going up to Hive Tech at 12 minutes. And, you know, I feel like JonnyREcco is getting to this Hive Tech, getting to this 4th base at kind of just interesting times as he has an army to back it up. What are you thinking about what JonnyREcco is doing here?
Absolutely rushing to get out the Ultras Cavern as fast as physically possible here to accept the 2-2 timing of his opponent. Right now, though, a great attack here, and we talked about this before on Ohana, is that the of creep spread is so evident on a map like this because you can't quite get the denial. That slows down a big amount of gas income for JonnyREcco to enable those late game units. The thing though that Major doesn't know about is his opponent's hive timing. It started about 11 minutes 30 as soon as that drop at the evolution chambers left, and without knowing that, he could get surprised because the Ultras Cavern is going to be down any second from now.
And we do have the 3-3 melee on the way as well, as Centrifugal Hook's going down. So if nothing else, he is going to get that early upgrade. He could also get the crackling attack speed upgrade as I've always liked to call it, which will make those Zerglings that much more powerful. And down goes that Ultralisk Cavern. Where exactly did he decide to hide that at? Is it in the main base? Yes, it is over there by the upgrades. But with the 3-3 on the way, this could be devastating. But now JonnyREcco's got to get momentum here, able to clean out a lot of those Marines in the center. But is JonnyREcco going to... Oh, there's a drop going to be going down at the third base. But is JonnyREcco going to want to attack, or should he just defend this constant aggression?
He's going to accept this little push, which should be happening soon by Major. Major doesn't have a fourth command center down. His 2 upgrades are soon to be. It looks like this drop on the right-hand side may be the drop to pull his opponent out of position as Major decides to take the left-hand side position. But look how many Lings are out. And the Banelings and Fungals, I think he's going to be quite happy to take in a fight if Major does push towards that fourth base, that left-hand side expansion.
All right, JonnyREcco did indeed bring some of his Zerglings over here. Not all of them, though. He just grabbed a nice little handful. He knows that the potential for a drop on the right side is imminent. There's a drop on the left side going to be going down as well. So far, though, JonnyREcco has a very mobile army. He's got very good creep spread. He's reached about the halfway point in the center of the map at about the 15-minute mark, so definitely not too bad at all for him, which means that he can swing around between all 5 bases almost seamlessly. And there are more Zerglings in the main base coming back here to make sure this drop doesn't do all that much. We just got to keep an eye on the drops because they are getting the army out of position, but is JonnyREcco going to suffer that much for it? We're about to find out.
I don't really like Major's position here. Gets fungled on the ramp twice in a row. Big fungals, but where are the Ultralists? They should get are coming out, and Ultra's coming out as well. Oh, he has a very strong army, and because it's out a little bit faster, JonnyREcco though is in a world of 2 decisions. Does he wait for the upgrades or not? And he's not going to wait.
He just had a couple of seconds until the upgrades, but he is got to go for it. Remember, this is equal upgrades, but slight tech advantage to these Ultras. He is indeed going to crush on through the supplies, though. We're favoring Terran there until 5 more Ultras were on the way, and the fact that JonnyREcco killed that without upgrades means that he's going to be a lot more terrifying moving forward with those upgrades. They are just moments away from being done, which means this 4th base is never going to happen, and unfortunately for Major, just taking way too much damage there. Taking a look at the units lost, it is definitely favoring Zerg, which is not a good situation to be in. The drop still trying to do some damage here, but unable to really connect with a lot of drones right now. And does JonnyREcco go for the kill, or does he just deny that 4th base endlessly and bleed his opponent dry? A lot of Zerg players right now are just going to be playing it defensively, poking here and there, but just make sure that they don't expand, and they're going to be in pretty good shape.
Yeah, that's all he needs to do. Prevent Major from taking a 4th base on the right-hand side, and JonnyREcco should naturally, if his stars align, win the game. He's got the Spire down too, so the greatest Spire tech switch is on the way. But right now, Major in a defensive stance is dropping twice. One on the right-hand side, one on the left, aiming for the expansion of JonnyREcco to try to slow that gas income down, because if he can, then he'll prevent the greatest Spire transition.
Ball drop over here on the left side. That is going to get cleaned up where the Infester's at. Not able to get right over here at just in time. Might be able to fungal it. Nope, it's going to go by unchecked. But at the same time, I mean, there's just no vulnerable location. I wouldn't be surprised to see JonnyREcco even add more spine crawlers here to make these drops completely, basically unable to do any damage here. And this drop, yes, there we go. Should go ahead and get that one cleaned up. So Major unable to really ever kind of get any momentum. His medevac count is looking surprisingly high. He is at 12 medevacs right now. So if he can control this army perfectly, then he might be okay here, as he does now have a 3-3 started and also a maxed out army.
Oh, JonnyREcco taking a lot of damage from those from the tanks of the Ultras, but I don't think it matters too much. He goes into a great engagement with Fungals backing that up. The Marine Marauders are getting sliced up in half, and JonnyREcco smashes another army out of the game again. And he is just demolishing this game one by one fight at a time. Borrowed Ling on the right-hand side, Ling's attacking SUVs as well. Though he is actually taking a drop on this right-hand side base, and the hatchery looks like it will fall, but 7 Corruptors on the way, and that's going to be the nail in the coffin. There's no way that Major can deal with Broodlords at the moment. All he has is Marines. He doesn't have additional starports, he doesn't have any Viking upgrades, and if Broodlords come out, which of course they're going to, there's no way. Look at the amount of money JonnyREcco has in the bank. He's playing excellent so far.
And everything's kind of shaping up right now for JonnyREcco, as he's just got basically everything he needs. You're mentioning those Broodlords. Yeah, I mean, there's no way. We still see continued Marine and Marauder production to counter those Ultralists, but there's already 8 Ultras. 7 Broodlords could potentially be morphed in right now, and that's going to be an almost unwinnable position here. Usually what Terran players would do is go for pure Ghost, but at this point, I mean, there's just way too much here for JonnyREcco. Major may be able to get maxed out once more, but he doesn't have the 3-3 yet. It's still what feels like eons away. Just now getting the Marauder slow upgrade, which isn't really going to help versus the units that are on the field. Still a cheap upgrade of mine as well, but at the same time, with no 4th base, this is going to mostly be it for Major. He has less than 100 resources, and I feel like he cannot reinforce this once he gets maxed out.
He can't. 7 Broodlords now morphing, and Major is just in trouble. There's no other way to describe it at the moment, and very similar to how he played on against Sean on the first map, although Hannah again is in trouble here. So I'm just thinking of options for Major to pull this back. If somehow the JonnyREcco is to mishap with his army and make a colossal mistake, then sure, he can still win. But a player like JonnyREcco, who's played this absolutely perfect so far, to be honest, with minimal mistakes, isn't going to make such a mistake. Give Major a chance to pull back into this game, and it all comes down to that one push that never did anything on that 4th base.
Major really needs to basically be able to deny some bases. I mean, we haven't seen any massive economic damage being dealt. Even a Zergling on the left side denying what would be, I guess, now technically a 5th base. I do like how Major's playing this out, though. I mean, he has secured a 4th base here, and he's securing a 5th base at the same time, at least attempting to. That Zergling stickering through it under there, going to prevent that from happening. More units in the center do get sacrificed here. I mean, he still does need those Marauders based on how many Ultras are on the field here. It's just that JonnyREcco has been able to build up his economy. He's built up his bank. He's got 52 larvae, which that's a lot of units to easily remax out. So basically the way you have to look at it is JonnyREcco has 2 armies here. It's the one that you see now and the one that's going to follow it up immediately. Even if it's just pure Zergling, that's going to help out a lot. But he cannot afford to engage completely bad. He is going to go ahead and go for it right here, though. Nope, he's going to back out. No, having a little bit of indecision, taking some additional damage. Does need to back out here, though, and also be careful with those Broodlords.
And in go the Fungals, in go the Ultras, and this army is doing decently well, actually. Even though it's very low in health, Major does put up a fight, but has he got enough to bring down the Broodlords? The Marines are so low, just a little push would knock them down, but the Medivacs aren't healing them. But the Broodlords remain strong, and the reinforcements are sickening. 20 Corruptors, 54 Lings, and the Marines put up a fight, but not enough. And the reinforcements, we're about to see like a 20 Broodlord army if he has the gas in the next few moments. And JonnyREcco cleaning this up.
And you gotta remember, he is mining gas now off of 5 bases here. Not even mined out in the main base just yet on that gas, so that is going to be a lot of Broodlords. He does have to watch out for the Viking production, though, as it is 5 at a time. These Broodlords are completely undefended. There's the Corruptors now just going to be showing up here in time to kill those off, but he's got to keep those Vikings safe from the Fungals, because if he can get up a big Viking cloud, he still definitely has a chance here. But JonnyREcco says, I'm not waiting for that to be an option. I'm going to go ahead and go for it. The Corruptors just chasing down these Vikings. Really nothing the Vikings can do at this point. Huge surround with the Zerglings. Got to be helping clean up the remainder of this army. The Marines still somehow alive, seemingly just not dying, considering that there was no Fungals there. JonnyREcco needs to make sure not to overextend himself, though, because if he continues losing this army, he could be in trouble. There's the Fungal he needed, though, and is still marching towards maxed out, which means GG at a Major.